Namaste, viewers, and welcome once again to the series that we are calling Home in the World. And Gayatri ji here is with us. She's my better half by any, should I say, standards. You can see it for yourself. Thank you, Gayatri ji, for joining us. And I think we will maybe wrap up our discussion on the Ram Mandir issue, Ghotala, if you want to call it, or scandal, or scam, or chanda chori, whatever you want to call it. Chadhawe ki chori. There's so many memes that have come up, right? So please go ahead. You want to ask any question about either the article or something beyond the article, maybe?
Yes, I think when you talked about uh, as this whole scam or ghotala as an opportunity, uh, I think what came to my mind is really how this the Ram Mandir can be the model temple, and how really Ram Rajya can be the model way of how our temples can be managed going forward, and maybe it becomes even a model for other communities, and other shrines as well. So I want to ask you your views on how can we take this ahead, apart from you know uh, apart from getting the people who were in this wrongdoing to task and everything. But what more can you talk about this, about this whole issue and take it forward? uh, you know uh, yes.
Yes, so I think the question of Ram Rajya is so fascinating. I'll come to that later. Though it's interesting how it triggered that in your mind. But the first point, I mean, in this two-part answer is really this point about the opportunity. I really think it's a great opportunity to clean up the act, to do the prayashchitta, to make this a model temple, not just for other temples, right? But for all shrines in India, right? There's mismanagement across the board. But I wanted to say one thing that all these years, India has been independent, close to 80 years now. In some sense, Hindu temples were the worst run by and large. Some temples were clean, I don't disagree, but you go to any Jain temple, go to Palitana, I've been there, or go to Girnar, so clean. You go to a Sikh Gurdwara, they clean from morning to evening, not a speck. If you go to Harmandir Sahib, anywhere, you go to a church, reasonably clean, sometimes immaculately clean, even though people are wearing shoes in some places. So, it's only the Hindu temples which were so dirty, constantly neglected, stampedes, people dying, exploitation of the worst kind. There's a famous incident of Gandhiji going to the great Kashi Vishwanath temple where he gets, collared, though he never had a collar, but whatever, by a panda and who nags him and this and that. And then Gandhiji gives him one paisa. So he says, so that person throws the money and curses him and all. He says, I don't care. He says, and then he comes running back even for that one paisa. So Gandhiji has talked about the corruption in our temples going way back. You and I ourselves have had this experience in so many places, unless you have an escort, even in Kashi Vishwanath, where we went. At 4 o'clock in the morning, how many times were we accosted? And if we didn't have a police person with us, there would have been so many people who would have taken advantage. And remember, one of our escorts, the professor, who was kind enough to come with us, how he said कि यहाँ तो लोगों को नंगा कर देते हैं. They will strip you naked. They're so unscrupulous. So let's face it, these are all a part of our tradition कि धर्म के नाम पर इतना कूड़ा है, इतने सफाई की जरूरत है. Even the ghats in Banaras, much better than before, the lanes. It's the Prime Minister's constituency after all. But still, you saw all that was happening at the ghats. You know, the commercialization, the crassness, the loud music and the lack of sanctity, frankly, So we have a lot of reckoning to do, please, as Hindus. So what I want to say is, okay, we are the majority community, and rightfully so in some ways, democratic politics has become majoritarian politics. And everybody says, Garv se kaho hum Hindu hai, or Garv se kaho Jai Shri Ram. Fantastic. I mean, Most of North India was saying Ram Ram in any case. Now we're going to say Jai Shri Ram. We're going to say Bharat Mata Ki Jai. See, all this is wonderful. But as the majority community, our temple should be the best run. They should be the cleanest in every sense of the word, you know, because cleanliness is next to godliness, right? And they should be corruption free. They should be scandal free. So we have to do what it takes. We can't simply, so to speak, try to get the political dividends of being a majority community. Our rivers have to be clean. We worship rivers. Why is Yamuna so dirty? Our waters, Apaha Shanti, we say in the Vedic mantras. The waters are sacred. You come to Bangalore, the lakes are on fire. They're so polluted.
Of froth, of froth is
Froth and fire
always.
too. By the way, Bellandur Lake or some lake, Vartur Lake, had actually caught fire. It had so many chemicals in it. So these are facts. You can check. I'm not making things up. Our rivers are polluted. Many small rivers are nothing but sewage lines. So if you want to be a great society, okay, and if you think that Sanatan Dharma is great, which I believe it is, then your rivers have to be clean. Your temples have to be immaculate. And what about the air? You are a pranayam teacher, yoga teacher. What about the air we breathe? Shouldn't the air be clean? What are we doing about it? So, being proud Hindus is not just, whatever, shouting slogans or trying to stop or being cow vigilantes or whatever, or trying to attack somebody or trying to force them to say something which they don't want to say, or making Vande Matram, disrespect to Vande Matram to become a cognizable offense. That is, by the way, is a bill. There's a bill that they may put in parliament, just like Janagana Mana. Wow, wonderful. But how about doing the real dharmic things which will make you, proud to be a Hindu, proud, to be a Sanatani and to be a part of the majority? Should the majority lag behind or should it lead? That's why I'm saying the Ram Mandir is an opportunity. And you have all the resources. There's so much money. The trust is rich. It has the blessings of all the political, bigwigs. It has, I would say, triple blessings: the blessings of Nagpur, the blessings of Lucknow, and the blessings of Delhi. Now, ये सब होने के बावजूद, and of course the blessings of Lord Ram. Now, even after all this, you can't straighten up, get your act together, you know, then you have to do more introspection. And I think, by the way, being a Sanatani is to be introspective because, we are not a static culture or religion. So this brings me to the second part of your question. The question of Ram Rajya. If everything I said is actually carried out, then it would be Ram Rajya. But Kali Yuga and Ram Rajya. So, by the way, Gandhiji again used this slogan. I keep bringing back Gandhiji because Gandhiji was such a big Ram Bhakt. And when the temple was inaugurated, nobody even mentioned Gandhiji. No one mentioned, he died with Ram on his lips. No one mentioned Ram Rajya. You mentioned it just now, but Ram Rajya was a Gandhian idea for Swaraj. And I've written a book on this, more than one. So Swaraj is what we are after, not just political independence. Swaraj means the full flourishing of the human being. And Ram Rajya was the symbol of it, that when the ruler is just, like Lord Rama, there is not a hungry child, there is not a homeless, person, there is not somebody who dies of cold or of hunger or of starvation. It's an ideal society. Are we an ideal society? Far from it. But that doesn't mean the ideal is wrong. We have to try, right? Now, Gandhiji said Sarvodaya, Deen Dayal Upadhyay, the ideologue of the Bharatiya Janata Party, he said Antodaya. Though, by the way, that was a concept that was given by Vinoba Bhave, which he adopted. So again, we need to read a little more. We have to reflect a little more. So Ram Rajya is not an ideal to be tarnished, nor is it an ideal to be trifled with. Because ultimately, Gayatri ji, Ram Rajya is inside you. You have to, purify your heart. You go to a temple, Astha, Shraddha, is meaningless without tapasya. So our shrines were in very inaccessible places. because going there itself was tapasya. Going to Kumbh Mela is itself like a tapasya because it's so cordoned off for VIPs or whatever security. Ordinary people, I saw them sleeping on the street with little children, carrying bottles of water. See, it is an ordeal. And in the olden days, from the south, if you were going off to Kashi, they even did their Antim Sanskar and went. So this is the astha of our people. So ultimately, Ram Rajya is inside, just as Sri Ram is also inside. So, by the way, the outside can only be as pure as inside. So if the outside is so muddied and sullied, if the sacred Ganges is not clean, it's because our inner Ganges is not clean. So please, as Hindus and Sanatanis, it's always not outside in, but inside out. So we should all, as Ram Bhakts, we should demand these higher standards. And then finally, though you didn't ask, but this has implications, for other temples in India. So what do you think about that? What do you think about the long-standing demand that temples have to be handed back to the communities and not be controlled by the government?
Absolutely. I was thinking about that, where you have one example in Tamil Nadu where it is so tightly controlled, and that even the funds are diverted out of the temples, and the temples and the purohits and the archikas are starving for even the basic needs to be met. And while you also jogged my memory about the Sri Vaishno Devi Mata Shrine, that it was really in a bad shape, and after Jagmohan took over, and the government stepped in, there was it was clean, there was sense of order, everything, and it's still quite well run. I was very regular in going to uh, you know going to the Devi shrine. So they're two very different, as you see, examples, and there are many more in India that we know about, that how they're run, or how not, how they should not be run. But what was coming in my mind is that the moment, as you say, the temples are so rich, the money, and you have politicians, you have the government in control. It's like a recipe for disaster, because in this yoga, and you have the politicians also embroiled with money as a center, and also so much power, because there is so much of shraddha and so much of astha in these. So this is actually it's like a breeding ground for the politicians to show their power, or dominate, or really gain control. And being the majority uh, uh, you know community, yeah, so this is like the perfect place to take control, or show your might and power, all in the wrong sense, in today's world.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm saying it's a great opportunity and it should serve as a model. Because you see, Hindu temples are very complex, Every deity has a different history, a different local tradition. So one size fits all does not work, you know. And, you can't apply even a demand like, give back control, because at times the question will be control to whom? Because the original custodians may be gone. The temples may have been taken over several times. So I'm saying, apart from, again, politicizing the issue, it has to be gone through and on a case by case basis. The best, the best practices have to be adopted. In some cases, like you mentioned, Sri Vaishno Devi Trust Board and all that, maybe Tirupati, standards are high and they have a mechanism. Of course, again, there are scandals, but there are successful models of quasi government or government takeover or oversight. There are failed models. You mentioned Tamil Nadu, where temple lands have been encroached, sold off. Look at the Waqf. Waqf is the whole system of Waqf. Waqf has been so corrupted that some people, I mean, it's sad. Let's say you have again, one of those ideal cases, a poor, sorry, not poor, a very rich, I must say, very rich, say, Muslim widow. She gives all her property to the Waqf. And then They build complexes on it. It's commercialized. The Waqf board people all have a chanda, again, commissions, real estate mafia. It's a terrible thing. Once you start opening it up, many of these institutions need reform. You know, in a Hindu adjacent tradition also, actually the elections are more, and sometimes, more violent, more political than the government elections. So the whole question is very complex and must be dealt with great sensitivity and with great, I would say, integrity. But one thing I want to say that, really, let's apply similar norms to everyone. Why is it that Hindus, should have no control? Hindu shrine should always be under scrutiny. Why is that? And Hindu temple funds should be used for so-called secular purposes. As you said, even the archakas are not getting paid, etc. They should be politicized. They should have reservations there, this, that, and all. But all the other so-called minority communities should be exempt. So these double standards are very distressing. And another one of our trips, we went to Khajuraho, and you saw how all the so-called Hindu shrines, except one temple, which is a living temple, outside of the complex, all the shrines, all the historic temples are under the Archaeological Survey of India. Okay, they say take off your shoes and this and that, but you know, but all the Jain shrines, also from a similar period, are run by the Jain trusts. So why this discrimination? And this you see throughout India. So the question you raised is very legitimate. But once again, let's come back to the present. Ram Rajya is an ideal. Gandhiji tried to, as it were, wed it with the idea of Swaraj or modern political independence. And we have to live with both. Gayatri ji, all of us Hindus, we live in different times. We live in a, mythopoetic, spiritual time. The time of the Ramayana is still very present to us. Even today, you go somewhere, you say, this is Bhim Kund, Bhim came here. So we live in that time, ageless, timeless, but it's time. It's a different chronology. And then we live in modern times. So that's why I'm saying that we live in a modern democracy with all its problems, but we also have the ideal of Ram Raj. So actually, being a modern Indian is balancing these two, and that balance is intermedial hermeneutics, isn't it? So what I want to say is that, to be good citizens, I mean, we want model temples, but let's also try to be good citizens. So good citizens are those who are educated in the right sense of the word, who are well informed, right? Who are curious, who are not going to be swayed by the fog of disinformation with social media, all of this. So our program ultimately, which is not just Ghar Ki Baat, but Ghore Baire, that is home and the world, it's actually about that. It's about enlightened citizenry, and we want to hear from all of you. And if there are issues that you want us to pick up, please tell us, and hopefully we'll try and address them. But do, if possible, have a basis, which is an article. Just in closing, I wanted to say that when students used to come and discuss their projects with me, after a while I used to say, okay, now next time you come, bring something written, no faffing. Otherwise, in India, that's what we do. We just keep faffing around, which is nice, by the way. We are argumentative, as Amartya Sen said. But I'm saying in our program, our focus is going to be on something that is written. We have a basis and we can use that for a takeoff, but it'll always be grounded and it'll be factual. You can verify. And if we make mistakes, we're happy to correct them. We are not faffing, but we want to analyze things at a deeper level. So with these words, thank you, Gayatri ji, for your
Thank
time,
you.
and for joining us and helping us out with your questions, which are very valuable to us. Thank you, viewers. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And if you have any last final words, go ahead. We'll end with your words.
I think uh, all these issues today, whether it's even the protests happening in Jantar Mantar or the standoff with the government, is an opportunity to look where we are, what are we doing, truly what are we doing. If you can just answer it for ourselves and we don't need to publicize it, I think maybe there is some hope for us.
Yes, there's always lots of hope, and we need not, so to speak, publicize it, as you said, but let's keep the discussion alive
Yes,
because democracy and discussion go hand in hand. I'm not saying dissent, but I'm saying discussion, dialogue, and this ongoing engagement with the republic, right?
absolutely.
So thank you and namaste till
Thank
next
you.
time.
Thank you.